Clint is our executive pastor. I want you to come up on stage. I've asked for Clint to share with you what he shared with me this past week. I've heard his story a little bit about how he was raised. But he shared with me a little more detail this week about some heroes in his life. And I want you to share a little bit with the church.
I don't talk about my story a whole lot, so you may have to bear with me a little bit. I try to never use anything in my life as a crutch. But it's kind of ironic that we're talking about this because me and my entire family had planned to go see one of my childhood heroes, a guy named Sierra, be inducted into the Texas Rangers Hall of Fame last night. And to me, that was a really, really big deal. You guys are probably thinking, whoa, whoopity-doo, Texas Rangers Hall of Fame, they're not very good anyways. But in my life, they mean a lot to me. And he meant a lot to me because during my childhood, that was one of the only things as far as hope goes in my life that I had. And I love my mother dearly, but she made some bad choices during the time frame that affected my family as far as my siblings go. At the age of 4, my parents were divorced, just to give you a little bit of backstory. And my mom was a single mom, and during that time frame until, my early teen years, she was making some very bad choices that were impacting us 3 children very heavily, going to bars late at night, staying out all night. I remember mornings where we were up until dawn, and our mom still wasn't home, and we didn't know if she was dead or not. And saw her physically get abused on multiple occasions, things of that manner, just put us in really tough situations. But there's a few heroes that really helped me through that time that I want to talk to you guys a little bit about today. And one of those heroes is a guy that I don't really know. He's a guy named Roy. And Roy, out of the blue, started coming to our apartment complex and picking us up on Wednesday nights to take us to church for a Royal Rangers program where he was the commander. And I remember he would take us to campouts, and it never failed. He was always there on Wednesday nights, and it began to lay a foundation in my life. I had some family that were in church prior to that, but he helped lay the foundation of investing in other people's lives. And I don't know if Roy knows it, but he's my hero. He's a hero to me. Another person in my life is my Uncle Phil, because he taught me that you can dream and fulfill your dreams and know that there's hope and there's something else out there for you in life, and really taught me to shoot for the stars. And then my other heroes would be my dad and my stepmom, because they taught me that you can have a normal life and you can rise above adversity. And I'm living the dream. I don't know how else to say it, but I get to do what I love to do each and every day. I get to minister to you people, and that's what God's called me to do. And I feel like these heroes have had such a huge part in that. And I just want to thank God today, and I really want to give a shout out to those heroes and thank them as well.
I wanted him to share that. As he was telling me the story, something jumped all over me, the story about Roy. Because you can see a family member reaching out to him in a very tough, difficult situation in his life, and even also his dad, who was a state away, but yet would pray for him and stay in touch with him. But this guy named Roy intrigued me, who apparently would come and pick him up and take him to church week after week. And so I took the name that he gave me, Roy, and he talked about this church called Center Assembly and on Center Street. And I was like, that's all I had. He didn't know anything about this. I just began to look up. I jotted down those names, Roy, Center, and I began to look. I didn't find a Center Assembly, but I found a Central Assembly. And I found it on Center Street. And I began to talk to past pastors, began to try to dig and find out through South Arlington who this Roy guy was. And I kept going back to not a Roy, but a guy named Rod. And so, Clint, your Roy is actually a guy named Rod. And of course, that's been over 20 years ago, and he was 8 years of age. But I tracked down a guy named Rod, And I talked to Rod this week on the phone. And sometimes we don't ever get to see our heroes again. People who impact our lives. Somebody who just picked him up that he remembers. And that stuck with me. And so Roy called me, who's now changed his name to Rod, called me this week. And I said, man, would you mind coming up? And Clint, I want you to meet for the first time in 20 years Roy, who's changed his name to Rod, who used to pick you up. Rod, would you mind standing up? Rod Sanchez. Stand up, Rod. This was a powerful moment. Roy, let me ask you, why did you do what you did? You went and picked up kids you did not even know. I mean, Rod, I'm starting to sell him Roy now. Rod, what'd you do?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
I got a brother named Roy. Well, you know, when I was a child, I had a family that came pick me up. So that kind of inspired me to reach out to other people. And I'm happy that Clint was one of them.
Rod comes from a family, as he was sharing with me last night at dinner. Clint had no idea about today. No idea. And he said that he was a family of 12, and somebody picked him up. Somebody has to be the hero. Is it going to be you? Or are you going to be so consumed with your own life that you fail to make other people's lives better? You fail to get out of your own comfort, your own safety, your own plans for your future and make a difference? Are you seeking the spotlight? Or do you really want to make the difference? I want to say, Rod Sanchez, and I want to say to his wife, Pansy, thank you. Thank you for making a difference in Clint. Thank you for being a hero, even when you didn't think you were, and you were just doing what you think anyone else would do. I'm here to tell you, other people weren't doing what you're doing, and you made a difference. And I want to say, on behalf of North Church, thank you. And may God raise up more heroes that are doing what you're doing.